This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with Dmitri Van Kampen from Spearhead Brewing. How are you today, sir?
Excellent, thanks.
We are sitting here in the Rhino in Parkdale watching a colourful cavalcade of characters walk by the window. With it being Parkdale, that is kind of par for the course. How are things today in the world of Spearhead Brewing?
I'm blown away after a year of being in business. It's tremendous to see what our little company's been able to achieve in just 12 months. It's really gratifying.
What was your background before you got into the brewing business?
I should apologize up front and say that I was a lawyer.
Oh.
Don't hold that against me, but you got to make a living somehow. But it took me a little while to figure out that law was not for me. And I needed to do something a little bit more creative, a little bit more interesting with my life. And when you watch somebody close to you pass away and they're able to tell you, like my father did, tell me that they achieved everything that they wanted to achieve in life and they were happy and had no regrets, it makes you start to reevaluate your own life and what you've done with it. So Spearhead is really the product of that sort of change of attitude that I had in life based upon personal circumstances that were really, really life-altering.
Now, you broke into the market and established yourself in Ontario with one beer, the Hawaiian Pale Ale.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that? I always thought it was quite a brave move to create a beer with such personality and such character as your kind of introductory beer. What's the story there?
Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, I've never considered myself all that brave in terms of that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, we wanted to create a beer that was going to have everything that would embody everything that we stood for out of the gate. That was beer without boundaries. It had to have something very unique about it. It had to have, and therein lies the pineapple juice, to create something very, very different from what was already on offer in the market. Because Ontario is full of terrific beers that, there's some great lagers out there, there's some great amber ales out there, some great nut brown ales. But we wanted to, if we were going to come into the market, we didn't want to do something that was already being done and done very, very well. We felt that if we were going to come into the market, we needed to do something that was very different and kind of build a niche for ourselves that no one else was doing. I mean, at the time, this was 2-3 years ago, remember, that at that time, there was no Mad Tom, there was no Smash Bomb. The more interesting beers in the market were still sort of playing within that safe zone that were on offer at the time. So what we decided that we would do is come out with something that would be completely different from anything else on the market. And we hopefully are going to be doing that with every single beer that we do. What we needed to achieve, though, with the Hawaiian style was to try and create a beer that also had some mass appeal to it, so that when you're coming out with only one beer in your first year and you're relying upon cash flow to run your business, you must make sure that that beer has a little bit of accessibility to the broader market. So we felt that Hawaiian style kind of had that balance of very different by having pineapple juice in it. West Coast style, there weren't a lot of beers at that time that were in that style category of big, bold, hoppy pale ales. Now there's lots of them on the market, and that's a great thing because that's the kind of beer that I want to drink. It's perhaps my favorite type of beer out there is the West Coast style of pale ales and IPAs. And so what we decided to do is, well, I'll be honest with you, I only want to make beers that I want to drink myself. And so I guess Hawaiian style is really, that's the reason for that beer.
You mentioned beers, and you're going to be making beers. This alludes towards the fact that you may be releasing something a little bit more than the Hawaiian Pale Ale.
Yeah.
What would those be?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. We hope to have many, many different types of beers on the market eventually, and currently we're producing our beer at Cool Brewing Company, and they're tremendously supportive of our business. But eventually we're obviously going to need to have our own shop. We're going to need to have our own space in which to cook. When you're cooking in somebody else's kitchen, you're reliant upon their equipment and their time and their availability and their capacity and so forth. It makes it very difficult, or rather, it makes it a little bit more challenging to plan your business, to plan your expansions, to plan your production schedule I mean, so far we've had nothing but a lot of support from Cool, but I envisage that that's going to change dramatically over the next 2-3 years. So as part of that plan, we definitely want to produce a lot of different styles of beers in Ontario that continually challenge and push the envelope on what beer can be and how beer is perceived in Ontario. So our next 2 beers that we've already kind of given a little bit of a sneak peek of are Moroccan Brown Ale and Belgian Stout. And Moroccan Brown Ale is a favorite of mine. It's a American style brown ale that we put dates and figs and raisins and some cinnamon in, inspired by some of the beers in the United States that really pushed the envelope on what that brown ale category can be. Examples that come to mind are Raison d'Etre by Dogfish Head. Yeah, absolutely amazing beer. And one of those types of beers that really are profoundly a game changer for you when you drink it. You know, Brown Sugar is another example from Lagunitas that really changed the way that you look at beer. And we're hoping that in our modest ways and in our humble ways, that Moroccan Brown Ale can fit into that category of beers that can fit into that milieu of fantastic, game-changing, very, very challenging and interesting flavor profile beers. And then the other one that we're coming out with is we love stout at Spearhead, and we love imperial stouts, we love all kinds of stouts, but what we decided to do is we would start with a Belgian stout. We believe that the Belgian style beers in Ontario are just starting, they're in their infancy. We believe that they can be done very well in Ontario. There's already some producers that do a great job at it. We believe that there's not enough Belgian style beers in Ontario, and that's really a future area that we'd like to play in a lot. So our first stout, I guess we could call it our third beer that we're going to be bringing out, is a Belgian style stout. So we use Trappist ale yeast to ferment it, which gives a very complex character to the beer, a little bit of banana and kind of dried fruit character. And then we add curacao, orange peel, and coriander to kind of give it, another kind of, Belgian, flair to it, if you will.
Is there anything else on the market similar to those beer styles right now? Anything from Ontario?
I'd like to say no. I believe that both of these beers are very, very different from anything else on offer. I mean, the Belgian stout is really like a Belgian chocolate.
Yes, yeah.
We use lots of chocolate malt in it. And that's not to say that it's better than anything else out there. It isn't. It's just as good, and we hope that it can compete with the other stouts that are on offer. We believe that it is a good beer, and we think that consumers will really enjoy it.
I was very happy to hear that your Hawaiian Pale Ale, will be available through the LCBO as of really next week, I think. Yeah,
that's been a long process. We started that process way back in the fall of 2011. So that's been about, I would say, 8 months that we've, from start to finish. It's a huge project, especially when you're going for the first time to the LCBO. It's such a huge buyer of alcohol. It's such a large bureaucracy with all of the governmental aspects to it and regulations and rules around how the beer is sold and marketed. However, on the other hand, we're really pleased to see how supportive the LCBO is of craft beer in general, and how supportive they are of Spearhead specifically. We've had nothing but terrific amounts of support from the LCBO.
Well, speaking of support, thank you very much for Spearhead's support of Good Food Revolution, and thank you very much for joining us this afternoon in Parkdale.
My pleasure. Thank you. Cheers.